I can't just do this falsely. I can't do this without going deep. And so that was when I really sort of embraced um, Jean's theory and the work that she's doing and the value of it. And coming from someone who's not a nurse, I also see the huge value and potential for this theory and philosophy to expand out of the field. However, always honoring where it comes from. Always knowing that it's a nurse theory, but it is, and I mean, who better to care for the human and the planet than using a professional practice model that comes from nursing and nurses.
Greetings, 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 and welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am extremely honored and excited to have Julie Watson with me today. So welcome so much to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Charlene. It's really nice to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here. I feel like you're like my sister kind of in the spirit or something as a Caritas, but really, really honored to have you here. The reason why I started this podcast, Julie, was, several reasons. It kind of was a dream and it was birthed out in 2020, the events that occurred in 2020. And so I found my voice. And then I began to release my voice, and then things started really progressing. And just amazing things start happening when you find your assignment and you start actually doing it. And so I love to capture, I think those moments are for all of us. There are certain moments that call us into them. And so before I get started with your story, I would love to read your bio. So let's see how. Okay, so Julie Watson is the executive director of Watson Caring Science Institute, a global nonprofit organization dedicated to helping nurses and caregivers improve their health, well-being, and peace of mind. Amen to that. This work evidently reduces staff turnover, which is a huge financial burden to healthcare, and significantly improves patients' perception of the care that they receive. Julie and Caring Science faculty and scholars offer professional development activities and consultancy to thousands of nurses and hospitals worldwide, including North America, Latino, Ibero, America, and the Middle East. Watson Caring Science Institute's theory is based on its founder, the renowned nurse theorist, Dr. Jean Watson, Julie's mother. Yay, we got greatness in the house. Who has supported nurses who serve more than 100 million customers and patients throughout the world. Before joining WCSI, Julie was director of an educational literacy charity in the UK, mentored by 826 National Group. She went on to hone her skills in organizational development, maintaining her love of the arts and literature. Appreciating the value of story, she founded and is managing editor to WCSI's Value of Story.
Lotus
okay,
Library,
I messed up. Yeah, so appreciating the value of story, she founded and is managing editor to WCSI's small imprint Lotus Library, giving voice to caring moments experienced by nurses, which are often hidden or undervalued. There you go. She shows you a little bit. A Bennington College alum, Julie went on to receive her master's degree at Sussex University in the UK. She is a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, an honorary member, Sigma Theta Tau International Honor Society of Nursing, and a Caritas coach. Julie is delighted to step into the role of executive director of Watson Caring Science Institute. Since her involvement, Julie has deepened her understanding of caring science and theory and is dedicated to supporting and living out the mission of the nonprofit to ensure her mother, Dr. Jean Watson's legacy lives on. Wow, what an amazing, amazing journey that you have had. So tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, thank you, Charlene. And I think, we are kindred spirits and sisters because reading the the email that you sent to me about this podcast, I totally agree with you in the value of story. We all have stories, and it's really important to give voice to your story. What's your story? And I think even your question is about, what makes you tick, or how did you kind of find yourself to where you are? It's that kind of moment of listening to your story, listening to your heart, listening to your soul's journey, that really then can kind of traject you onto your path.
Yes,
really,
yes.
I believe. So it's really lovely to be here. And can I just give you a shout out to your professional practice? Am I allowed to say that? But basically,
yes, sure.
your team has just, Watson Caring Science Institute has awarded Charlene's team at Kaiser Permanente, Northern California, a Lotus Recognition Award, which is a national recognition of the amazing work that they do for caring and for their patients and for their staff and for their colleagues and for their community each day. And it's based around the 10 Caritas processes, which if we want to go into, we can go into that. But I just wanted to say congratulations, because actually by you providing this platform and by me being able to share and shout out the work that you're doing in your day-to-day life is important, and we need to give voice to it, as my mother says, giving voice and language to the often the sort of invisible work that's done every day, that we need to really make sure that we have a platform and shout about it.
Well, thank you so much. And we are absolutely celebrating. And, you said about giving voice. I think that's so profound, because I know for me personally, before Caring Science, I did not really have voice and language to how I was practicing. I felt myself doing some of the principles, but there was really no voice for it. So I think that is what literally changed my trajectory when I recognized after they introduced it. It was like, oh my God, this has given me so much life. It's really taking some breath into me, because I was starting to burn out. Didn't really feel like I needed to. I was searching for something else. And then this just gave me so much purpose and meaning in the profession that I'm forever grateful.
That's so beautiful that you say that, because I think the reason why, and just so in case there's people that are watching that don't know my mother's theory is it's a professional practice sort of model in which nursing, caregivers, and now more and more other organizations are coming to us as well, to find purpose and meaning in your work. And I think the reason, basically, it's been developed by a nurse in the nurse discipline, and it's a very academic theory and philosophy, but it's actually very accessible for anyone to understand it, because she's developed these, what we call the 10 Caritas processes. And those are, I like to say that they're sort of like the 10 commandments of nursing, or the 12-step program. It's like there's steps that you can understand. And what happens, I think, Charlene, and why it was it's been now, used worldwide, is that Jean always talks about, she says, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. You're already doing this work. You're already doing it. But she's just giving the voice and language. And so that is why, it's the same thing, I think, with education. Teachers go into the profession because they want to make a difference. They want to be of service. They want to contribute. And similar to nursing and caring, you go in with a deep, it's not just a profession, it's a calling.
Yes.
It's a covenant with humanity. And then as we go in and study, and then you get involved in the systems, it's almost like you're sort of beaten out of the calling, because it's not seen as valuable. It's hidden. You're not allowed to show up in a certain way. You're too busy trying to turn off the call button. And so this is why I think this work is especially valuable and important post-pandemic, and in this era AI, which is, we need to embrace. We need, it's not going to go away, but we need to work in concert, side by side, so that we can make sure that these technologies are informed by caring science, and making sure that we are really authentically caring for ourselves, caring for our patients, caring for our colleagues, caring for our communities. So it's really about whole system change from the inside out, which is exciting, and it's taken off. Charlene, it's crazy. There's so many things going on. I feel like so it's difficult, isn't it? Because once you get involved in this work, actually the first Caritas process is about it's interesting because the first Caritas process talks about taking care of self and other. And I think as nurses and carers, we kind of skim past that taking care of self. And we're like, oh yeah, take care of others. But no, what's important is, and what I'm learning as my work is becoming busier and this is becoming, larger than whatever we expected, I need to take care of myself. I need to do what I say we value. We need to live out our values. And I'm sure you can relate to that, Charlene.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that actually was what was happening. Julie, I wasn't taking care of myself because, as if you're a mommy and wife and, all of those other things, you're constantly giving and giving and giving. And that critical piece with taking care of self and others, when we don't do it, we see the results of it in our behavior sometimes, unfortunately, which really affects everything around you. So when I recognized that taking care of me was the critical piece for me to love the unlovable, that's when I had to really say, I had to commit to me and say, you know what, you have to take care of you. So I think that's why it's so beautiful with the Caritas process, is because it gives you a tool. I think I shared it in my last episode, but when we went through that jarring moment with George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, I had to really tap into Caritas process number one. Because practice loving kindness first toward yourself. I had to learn love me first, and then to others. I had to learn how to forgive. See, there's so many Caritas processes in there. That's why I love them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. It's so important, and it's not just the other point to remember is, of course, you were just at our recent conference, and it is a room full of absolute love. People are they are present. They want to be there. They just are love personified. But, life is challenging. Life is difficult. We have work to do in this country and all over the world. And so, being able to allow for positive and negative experiences and being able to be mindful in how we respond to that. I think your colleague, Molly, did this beautiful presentation about, racism at the bedside and that, how as a nurse do you respond to that? What do you do? What does your system do? We need to make sure that we have, clear, values, visions, and standing in our lights about how we work in this world. And I think the other thing, just to mention about I don't know if I call her my mom or Dr. Watson or Jean. I don't know. I'm going to just kind of mix it up. But the other premise, or the assumptions. I think there's two assumptions that you enter when you enter Jean Watson's theory. And one is that we all belong to a universal field. We all are connected. We're all connected. We all belong to this universal field of love and the planet and the galaxy. So we are all one. There is no such thing as other. So once we start, talking about another, or they don't do that, or they're bad, or this is, you care for this body and not this human spirit soul person. Right. This is what we really need to be conscious of. And so that's another sort of assumption of this theory, is that if you enter into this theory, the premise is that we all belong to the universal field of love. We all come from love, and we all return to love. And so that is a profound sort of entrance into what you're doing each day. And the way that that shows up is by those micro practices. Yes. The micro practices of observing the patient's room, looking to see what's going on in there, what's needed, and just pausing before you enter the room. I know you got a lot on your plate. I know you've got to do all the tasks, but it's about just being, who is this spirit-filled person, and what are their needs, and how can I help them to heal? Yes, rather than doing the tasks to them, at them. How can we together help you through this journey? So I think that's really profound. And I think then the other part of that is that universal field is that she was also influenced by this French philosopher called Emmanuel Levinas, and his philosophy was, again, about face-to-face, the ethics of face. And even we're experiencing a moment together. We're not in the same room, but we are talking with each other. And I love Zoom. I love the fact that we can be here. And I love this Riverside platform where we can actually have a moment together and share an experience. And hopefully we can share what we're sharing now is resonating out. And so, again, when you go into the patient's room, or when you're going into that staff room and you've got the challenging kind of dynamics, it's about taking time out to look another in the eye, not just going into the room and checking out the machine and making sure the machine's okay. How is that patient? How are you? So I think that's another reason why people really resonate. And it's very useful to remember that, I think, throughout the day. I mean, it's not easy.
but it's so important. You're so right. And I think along with that is just like reading the field. Mm-hmm. Like, how you could step into a space and you could feel the intensity of it, but it gives you a clue where you have to bring that room into coherence. And so, this is like, to me, to be honest, Julie, I really believe that this is cutting edge. Dr. Jean was way before her time. And this is the solution to a lot of the things that we're dealing with right now in our system. So I'm so thankful for the work that you're doing. I'd like to dig into you a little bit more. Okay. So I'm wondering, how did you, with Dr. Jean Watson as your mom, when did your journey with Caring Science come in? Have you been a fan the whole time? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, no. I mean, I think, yes and no, Charlene, because, growing up with with my parents and their backgrounds, and we lived in Boulder, Colorado. I think, you have these experiences where you're all evolving and you're all, growing up together in a sense. My parents moved from West Virginia to be in Colorado, which was a big change at the time, the sort of 60s, and the feminist movement was happening. And my mother's the youngest of 8 children, who have all stayed in the South. So, lots of big influences, I think, just vicariously growing up with my parents. But, I think I always was influenced by their values and beliefs. But of course, at the time I was, rebellious and said, whatever, and actually, I was on my own journey and actually, my mom kind of kept her work life very separate from our family life. So it wasn't until, she'd give me her books that she wrote. Oh, here you go. Here's another book I wrote. Thanks. And it wasn't until, I think, you talk about what changed the trajectory of your life. And I think sometimes those trajectories are, when you kind of hit a rock bottom in some ways, when you're having a crisis and you wake up. And I'm trying hopefully now to heighten up not be such crisis in order to listen to change. You know what I mean? Like, why do we always have
Yeah.
to hit rock bottom before we
Yeah,
have to change?
exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, can it be a little bit easier? But I
I'm
think,
working on that too.
exactly. And I think, I was living in England. I lived in England for 25 years. I raised two beautiful children. I was going through a divorce and I was a single mom. I was trying to make ends meet. And, because I started this nonprofit, educational, literary, we call it charities in England. It was based on a model. It's called 826 Valencia, which is started in San Francisco. Anyway, I won't, but it was about offering story and voice and the value of creativity for underserved young people. Mm. And as I developed in that, and I was mentored by this amazing organization in London who mentored me for a year about organizational development. I had just graduated with my master's in cultural management. Mm. So suddenly Jean would come to, she'd come and give lectures here, there, and everywhere. She's a real world traveler. And when she came to England, she kept we were talking and she kept asking me questions about, what do you think about this? And we would sort of I was able to help with the organization as far as, well, hang on a minute. How are you, what's your structure? What's your mission? Because at the time it was just kind of very open. And Charlene, really, it wasn't until I became a Caritas coach that I really got it. So I started working just kind of vicariously around the edges for my mom, for the organization, kind of being her PA or her sort of a secretary, and living in England. And then I went to California to a Caritas Consortia conference at I think it was at Samuel Mer. It was Stanford Health that was offering it, and I started my Caritas coach journey. And I won't go on about it, but basically, at first, I was the Caritas coach journey it's a 6-month course, and it's a real deep dive into yourself.
Yes,
it's a real, who are you, what's important to you, how do you show up in the world, and it's a wonderful opportunity for self-growth. And it really did. At first I was like, oh yeah, I know the answer to these things. I'm just going to, write down what I can speak that language. You know what I mean? And there was a moment, I can't remember what the question was, but I think it was something about, what was it? What was your, crisis moment that transformed something? And I just kind of wrote and wrote and wrote. And I realized I can't just do this falsely. I can't do this without going deep. And so that was when I really sort of embraced Jean's theory and the work that she's doing and the value of it. And coming from someone who's not a nurse, I also see the huge value and potential for this theory and philosophy to expand out of the field. However, always honoring where it comes from. Always knowing that it's a nurse theory, but it is, and I mean, who better to care for the human and the planet than using a professional practice model that comes from nursing and nurses. So I think that's how I got into it. And then of course I have to add that I started working more full time for the Institute, and I went to Chile to a conference. And there I met the second love of my life, the love of my life.
Wow.
And who is now traveling alongside me and studying the theory. And he's a nurse, and he's Uruguayan, Hector Rosso. And so we are, it's a family affair, Charlene.
Yeah, beautiful family affair that I got to witness at the last event. But so Julie, I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit about, have you had any barriers that you can perceive barriers as you're moving toward your your assignment, because we can see your beautiful assignment, and it's so precious, and I'm so grateful for you. But what type of barriers did you hit as like a trailblazer? Because you obviously are a trailblazer and a change agent, and all of those mixed together. So what type of barriers did you have to fight through?
I think I don't know why I'm being reminded of a quote or a part of a poem from Mary Oliver Mary Oliver says, what do you want to do with your one precious life? What do you want to do with it? And I love that. It speaks to me. I think some of the barriers personally are really, ignoring your inner voice. I have an assignment through my colleague who's asking me to write a visionary statement for myself, not for the Institute, for myself, for a year. And she said, I want you to find some time, 2 hours. Where do you work best? Do you work in a because I love going to cafes and working, and 2 hours and write this visionary statement. Well, do you know what, Charlene? I've had to ask for an extension because I haven't found those 2 hours, or if I booked the 2 hours and then something's come up.
Yes.
And that's really telling, isn't it? It's going back to that self-care. Like what's withholding you from doing some inner work, some work on yourself. I think that's one barrier. And I think the other barrier too, and this is probably controversial, but because the Institute is so full of love and lovey-dovey, and they want generous and caring and spreading, we need to be mindful about what we're doing, because we're yes people. And we say, yes, let's do that. Yes, let's do that. And actually we need to where there's only so many people in the organization. We just need to be really careful about what we're working. I want to do a lot of things. I would rather do a fewer things very well than a lot of things okay. And that's that's something that is a challenge to us. And I think the other thing too is just being, if we want, part of my job is to, if relevant, we want to not protect, but we want to be kind of the vessel or the container of this work, or the kind of go-to place for the understanding and education and expanding, giving voice to you, Charlene, for example. We all have something to contribute to this, but in such a way that we are mindful about our intellectual property, and making sure that we agree licensing fees with maybe for-profit companies that want to use this work, because in the past we were like, yes, sure, yes. But I think, being a little bit more business savvy in this world is important, because we want this work to expand and grow into perpetuity. That's my kind of assignment, and I believe in it, and I want to do right by it. So I think those are the
amazing
challenges. It's challenging.
Yeah, but I know, but so needed, because all of the hard work and blood, sweat, and tears to get to where you are is good to have that branding and protection. So I think that's amazing. Julie, a lot of my audience are like doctors and physicians and, just dreamers, just trying to just do the work. So I'm wondering, over the last few years, what have you seen, with the pandemic and everything? What things have you noticed with our humanity?
Well, I think with the pandemic, I always think about, I'm so grateful for the nurses who, held the hands of loved ones whose loved ones couldn't be there. And it does remind me about, if you kind of close your eyes and think about if you were ever in the hospital or even the doctor's office, or whenever you were sick, that one person, that one nurse that really made a difference to you, that made a difference to your experience. We all have those people, I think. And then we also have the opposite. And what we are about is making sure that we are those people, that we are those people for those people. You know, we are that.
Yes.
We are that nurse. We are that carer. We are that human. We are that, you know, that babysitter or that teacher that has an impact. And even if it's one person,
Yes.
you know, that quote of Jean's, you know, what if this one moment with this one person is the reason you're on earth at this time? I think that's something that people have resonated, especially post-pandemic. And I think what, you know, it's been challenging, actually. And Charlene, I'm going to say another sort of controversial thing, but so we had these, you know, the nurses are the capes, yay, nurses, pre-pandemic, you know, so that
yes.
sort of, you know, and then suddenly, so we have the heroes or the superheroes, and actually we're not superheroes. We're people that show up and we do our work, and we're
Yes.
highly qualified people, and we, you know, do it with love and care. And that's the secret sauce. And then suddenly, I don't know what it is about the news, but then the message came out about, oh, the nurses are burning out. Oh, nurses are burning out and they can't handle it and they're leaving and they're, you know, victims. And no, we're not. Who decided to make that the kind of, do you know what I mean? Like, we need to make sure that we're conscious of those headlines, because no, we're not. But what we are is that you see us. Do you see what we do? Do you see what we do every day and how valuable we are? And that we're not, there was Jennifer Mesant Kennedy that mentioned about how we're on the wrong side of the sales ledger. So we're not, you know, we're not an expenditure.
Yes,
we're
right.
an investment.
Yes.
And if you
absolutely.
look at nurses as an investment, which they are, because, you know, thank God for the nurses that were there during the pandemic and, you know, through thick and thin, you know, and let's learn from that. And we're not, you know, burning out, but we don't want to work in those systems anymore that are not doing us right. So that's why, and I am I allowed to say names of different hospitals? So, you know, I don't know if I can, Charlene, but, you know, that's why Kaiser Permanente, North California, that's why Stanford Health, that's why Cedars-Sinai are totally changing that narrative, because they're creating caring and healing environments for their staff, for the nurses, and for the patients, and for the patients' families, and for their communities. And that's the change. That's the difference. It's breaking up, dare I say, that patriarchal, hierarchical model, which doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. And really just, you know, the nurses are the healing environment. And in order for the nurses that are Caritas coaches or that value themselves and therefore care for their patients in a loving and kind way, you got to offer a beautiful healing space for them to work and to
absolutely.
give them, you know, and that's kind of top down and bottom up. It's both.
Yeah. Well, and I think and it's totally okay to say, because I think it's out there publicly and people know some of the work that we're doing. I think it does go back to, so if an organization can listen to their employees and begin to start noticing, like you said, observing, okay, there's been a shift in certain things, maybe, you know, some burnout or whatever, because, you know, we went through a really difficult time. But here's a tool. Here's Dr. Watson's Caring Science. Here's these programs that you guys offer to help our staff. That's why I really love your, when I was reading your bio, what you guys stand for about the wellness of the nurse. Because I think, you know, throughout just working, the nurses were feeling like, does anybody care about me? Like, I'm suffering here. Can you please help? I need some tools to navigate this really troubling time. And so to be able to say yes to connecting with you guys as an organization so that you can help revive the staff again is amazing. I think those organizations that are doing that are going to be on the cutting edge, and the ones that are not. I mean, the nurses are saying, no, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm going to shift off and do something else. So totally agree with you on that. So I'm wondering, I could talk to you forever. I really want to bring you back and we just like unpack the 10 Caritas processes maybe at a later date. Yeah, that would be so awesome. But now I want to hear from you, Miss Wisdom. I love to get 3 wisdom gems for the times that we're living in today. What would that be? What's Julie's top 3 pearls of wisdom that you can give people?
Trust yourself.
Ooh.
Don't second doubt yourself. Don't question yourself. Like trust your really listening to your heart, and trust it. Know that you are love. Right now, in this moment, you are love. We all say these little inner little dialogues. Oh, you're too fat, and you're gonna do this, and you have to be. No, you are love. You're love. And I think don't forget to be creative. I think creativity is hugely important, and don't forget to doodle on your notepad or, sing a song when you're in the car. I don't know. Just be creative.
Like it.
Cook something. Those are my 3.
Those are good. Those are good. And then I'd like to just open it up for you if there's anything else you want to tell us more about what you would want us to know about Watson Caring Science or anything else you're doing.
I think the other thing, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, and again, I think this is from my arts background too, is about, the arts are important to our lives. They give us value and purpose to our life, to our world. And similarly, so how do you evidence that? How do you document that evidentially? How do you scientifically evidence that? So I think that's a similar journey that we're on with the theory of caring science, because we now have what's called the Caritas measurement tools, where organizations, big data companies such as Press Ganey and Qualtrics are now wanting to use our 5 items of our patient satisfaction tools, which has very interesting language, such as, was your care delivered with loving kindness? Were your beliefs honored? Did you experience a caring moment? So, and that's, they're on a Likert scale, they're actually have been validated. So now, Charlene, we're able to evidentially show the value of this work.
That's awesome.
Caring science. And so, in fact, in the conference, people applauded, and I think that's it. We need to be able to show the value of this. We can't rely on it it's great, you guys, come on. It's about, we can show the value of this. And actually, we can also make an impact to your hospital finances. And, we know it's important. We know why we do it, but it's also important because it makes for a healthy organization. It makes for a healthy hospital. It makes for happy and healthy patients and staff and nurses. So I think that's really exciting. I think that is really exciting work. Yeah,
it's really exciting. So much so it makes me want to do some research. And that's how powerful it is. So I'm really glad that you guys are doing that. So as we close, Julie, you want to tell us how people can get in touch with you and anything you want to advertise? Go right ahead.
Thank you so much, Charlene. So I'm Julie Watson, and it's Julie at watsonCaringScience.org. And of course, our website is WatsonCaringScience.org. I think it is www. So please do hop on. There's a lot there. Of course, that's another task. We want to revamp our website. One day we will. But we are a nonprofit. We're not affiliated. We're not government funded. We're not affiliated with a university. So all of our, all of the money that comes in goes directly back into the work that we do. So if you know some high net worths or some people that have some money they want to donate, we're a good cause. We're solid. We're solvent. So please consider us at your next tax year. And also we do have a caring store where we sell beautiful items. So
yes,
which helps us. So that's all. I hope that's okay. Charlene.
That's perfect.
Bit of a plug, but anyway.
Hey, that's a good plug. Hey, I have my jacket on with my caring science. So yes, I love your store. So I am so thankful that you afforded us the opportunity to hear from you. I just really believe that when I saw you, because I hadn't met you yet. So to see you at the last event, I was just so amazed by the attention and the detail and the love that you had. And it was just so, I'm still like on the cloud after being there. I really am. And then just to see, because like totally I saw that vision of a baton and I cannot get that out of my head. It was so beautiful to see and it happened when you and Dr. Jean hugged. That's when I saw it. And it was such a beautiful moment for me that I was like, oh my God, look at this. This is like legacy being transferred while the person is still here. Absolutely beautiful.
It's gonna make me cry. But you know what? I really that was so powerful to me for you to say that. So thank you. That was
yeah. So thank you for all that you do. We're going to keep carrying the light in institutional darkness. I've been carrying it since 2010 and probably will carry it forever because it literally saved my career. It helped me get on the path of purpose and destiny. And so I'm so grateful for you and continuing the legacy of Dr. Jean and being able to continue to give her space so she can write more, so we can read more and do more.
Exactly.
So excited for what's to come and the work that your husband is doing. Oh my God, you guys are like the bomb.
And and also it's like we, you are, really, we thank you so much for this platform. We thank you for all that you do. And it is up to us to carry Dr. Watson's work into the future. Yeah. So I love that. We'll put the we in there.
Okay. Okay, Julie, thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next time.
All right. Thank you.